You don't have to be in Santander very long to see the name Manuela Beltrán. We have universities named after her, schools named after her, parks named after her. There are monuments to her, like the one behind me. We see paintings of her on the walls. Why is she so important in the history of Santander and the history of Colombia?
Manuela Beltrán was the original Santanderiana Brava. On March 16, 1781, Manuela Beltrán stood at the door of the mayor's office in Socorro, Santander, and shouted,
¡Viva el rey! ¡Y muera el mal gobierno! ¡Viva el rey! ¡Y que muera el mal gobierno!
"Long live the king and die to the bad government." Manuela Beltrán was from a middle-class family of cigar makers in Santander, Colombia. That day, in March 1781, she was at the head of more than 2,000 protesters who had come to the market square, crowded in front of the mayor's residence. They were already angry because of a dispute about land ownership and a temporary ban on tobacco planting, and now there are new tax measures put out by the Spanish court. The edict about the taxes was posted on the door of the mayor's office, and Manuela ripped off the paper, pretended to clear the door jamb with it, and threw the document into the wind. That was the spark that ignited the Commoners' Rebellion, La Rebelión de los Comuneros. The people decided to march toward Bogotá right away, from Socorro through Charalá, Oiba, Guadalupe, Suaita, Barbosa, into Boyacá, Saboyá, Chiquinquirá. By the end of May, they had marched 230 kilometers, it's like 140 miles for my American friends, and gathered about 20,000 angry farmers. The Spanish military met up with them in Zapiquirá, Cundinamarca. That's where a representative of the government met with them, and they wrote up the Capitulations de Zapiquirá, which supposedly addressed their demands. But 9 months later, in 1782, the Spanish government annulled the capitulations. The leaders, José Antonio Galán, Isidro Molina, Lorenzo Alcantuz, were arrested, sentenced to death. Manuela Beltrán was shot by a firing squad. Others, like Juan Antonio Galán, were publicly dismembered in the Plaza Santa Fe, and pieces of him were on display in towns all over Santander. His left arm was over here, his right arm was somewhere else, his head was in a different city, his foot was somewhere else. It was just insane. This is important for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because it was the first time that a united group of people rose up against the Spanish government. Rich people, poor people, slaves, indígenas, everyone was ticked off. And second, because a generation later, when Colombians were itching for independence, they remembered the Comuneros, and they knew that it would be impossible to negotiate with Spain, and a violent revolution was really the only path to true independence. Today, all over Colombia, El Socorro Santander is known as the cradle of Colombia's freedom. Siempre adelante, ni un paso atrás.